Hi everyone, today I'm flipping through the Bluestone Perennials catalog and sharing my plant wish list. From must-have blooms to unique garden favorites, I'll talk about what's caught my eye and why these plants are perfect for creating a dream garden. Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden. And before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with a fellow gardening friend. All right, you all, so my favorite catalog came in the mail, Bluestone Perennials, and this is my favorite catalog I look forward to every winter. I have been buying from Bluestone Perennials for quite a while. The company's been in business for multiple decades, and they're one of the first companies I would send plants through mail. I am not sponsored by Bluestone Perennials. They don't give me a discount. I don't get paid, nothing. This is literally my upfront and truthful opinion of them and their products. And so when this comes out every year, I get so excited to go through and check it out and just play around with ideas and thoughts. And in the past, typically a lot of things I would do is I would go on their website and I would just put a bunch of stuff in the cart. But I found over the years that I do better if I go through, circle what I like, write it down, talk to myself about where it's going to go in the garden, how much it is, just work through the process and go from there to adding things into my cart. Because typically when I add things in the cart, I don't think it through. There's a lot of impulse buying and I am trying to be more budget conscious. So this way allows me to really narrow it down to what I think is going to work best and only really what my needs are. Technically, I have no needs. I mean, technically, I don't need to buy any of these plants, but you know, there are a few places that you can tuck them in. And I know I grow so much from seed and I love doing that, but I also love buying plants. And specifically from Bluestone Perennials, I get access to a lot of plants that I don't have access to at the nurseries in my area. Now, Bluestone Perennials, they will ship you your plants. They usually come in kind of these like straw looking kind of biodegradable containers. They're about 4 by 4 inches. And you can actually plant that directly into the ground. Their plants are not gigantic. You're not getting this big, massive plant. You are going to get a very well rooted plant, a plant that's mature enough, maybe has had a year or two on it, and it's going to be great and do well in your area. But you're not getting this big, giant plant that you can stick in your garden and it's like, wow, right away. And I'm okay with that because a lot of times those bigger plants have a harder time transplanting it into your garden, especially at this time of year. Although you can schedule for Bluestone Perennials to send you at different points, at whatever time you want them to ship stuff during the year to you. But I found that these smaller plants, you get them planted in, you take care of them, and they root really well. They don't have too much to take care of. They don't have to take care of this big, massive plant when you're putting it into the ground. Instead, it just gives it the opportunity to just really focus on its root system and become the big, massive plant in the future. Now, their prices vary anywhere from like $7 to like $26. $30, real expensive for unusual plants. They do run a lot of sales. I don't know when the sales, I feel like they're summer sales, but I could be wrong. Those of you guys who know, let me know. But they run sales where they'll just take a grouping of like 20 plants and they'll cut that price in half. And they do those weekly. So if you're looking for a specific plant, you can kind of just wait to see it come on sale. You do have to pay for shipping. I don't believe it was free shipping. Maybe it's if you spend a certain amount. Yeah, I feel like if it was free shipping, it would say it all over the catalog. I don't recall it being on here. I also don't recall it being so atrocious that I decided not to. I typically buy at least 6 plants because of the way they do their boxes. 6 works really well. You can do a lot more, you can do less, but 6 feels good for me. It doesn't feel overwhelming when all those show up and I got to get them planted out. It feels like just enough. Okay, so their new catalog is in. It has lots of beautiful pictures, descriptions. This is not everything that they have. This is just a sampling of what they have. but I like the sampling. It narrows things down. It just allows me to focus on a few things instead of looking at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plants all together. But I really like their catalog, makes it easy. You can, of course, go onto their website and go more in depth with each of these plants, which I definitely did as I was going through this. So basically, I went through, I was sitting at my son's basketball practice, and I just went through and I was like, ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. And I circled all of them. And then I went on the website and researched. And then from there, I picked out the ones that I am considering and that are on my current wish list from Bluestone Perennials. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go through it and talk to you all about the plants that are on my wish list. Now, all of these are not going to be coming to my garden. That would just be overwhelming. I would typically, I'll probably pick somewhere between 3 and 6 of them, depending on what my budget's kind of looking like, just because I don't want to overdo it. And a lot of this I'm wanting to put into the new back garden that is not built yet. So I don't want to order a bunch of plants that just sit there because I haven't finished creating that garden back there. So I want to make sure I'm very specific and just very pointed about what I purchase. Okay, so everything in the catalog is in alphabetical order. So I'm just going to be going in alphabetical order. I will try to talk about the prices. I'm sure that I'll forget a few of them along the way. I did want to point out that Bluestone Perennials is the place that I bought my heirloom chrysanthemums to start off, for those of y'all who have gotten into the heirloom chrysanthemum craze like I have. This is where I first started buying them. These are full plants. These are not like cuttings. So they're very well rooted in. Okay, so first on my list is the Aralia Sun King, and it's actually been on my list in the past, and I've just never bitten the bullet and jumped on it. So Aralia Sun King is a beautiful anchor plant with excellent cold hardiness. Finely toothed arching leaves emerge sunny yellow and retain their color. It has clusters of tiny white flowers in summer, which are followed by purple fruit. It's approximately 4 feet tall, likes part shade to full sun, hardy in zones 3 through 9, deer resistant, and good for pollinators. And I'm really kind of looking at this for the shade garden, and I'm really considering planting it directly into the ground in the shade garden. Currently, everything in the shade garden is in containers or a raised bed, but this is nice and full and large, and I'm kind of thinking about putting it in a corner underneath my spigot that's out there. I thought that this might be really pretty. And the Aralia is, the Sun King Aralia is $22.95. Okay, next on my list is something I'm also looking at for the shade garden, and that is Astilbe. And I think it's just going to stay on my list and think about it for this year. I started some Astilbe from Bare Root last year. I want to see if they come back and how they do this spring. But the variety that I'm kind of obsessed with is called Astilbe Milk and Honey. It is a later midsummer blooms, pastels of creamy white plumes that age to a soft pink. It has spring foliage, emerges slightly marbled with silver, then matures to solid green, which I love any kind of variegation. The height is 28 inches. It prefers part sun to full shade, part shade to full shade. Deer resistant, attracts butterflies, does well with a wet site area, so wet soil, and is hardy in zones 4 through 8. And the price is $18.95 on here. And so I really want to see how my other Astilbe do, and if they do well, this is one I would like to invest in. I'm obsessed with the color and the creaminess of it. I just think is next level, absolutely beautiful. I've struggled with the Astilbe in the past, and I feel like if I can get it figured out for the shade garden, I would have a ton of varieties. I would love to grow it, much more of it. Okay, next on my list is Cimicifuga. I'm going to butcher these beautiful names with my southern accent. Basically, it's bugbane, and the variety I'm looking at is Black Negligee, and it is a finely cut black foliage, is a stunning backdrop for purple tinged white spires. Fragrant flowers shoot skyward up to 5 feet. It's intricate and lacy, and they do resemble long feathery boas. The height is about 4 to 5 inches. It prefers part shade. It is excellent as a cut flower, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and handles wet soil. So I'm actually looking at that variety for a place in the back, the new portion of the back garden, where I have a little bit of drainage issue because of clay soil. Now, I wouldn't just plant it in the clay soil, I would dig some of the clay soil up, mix it, and amend it so it's a little bit, drains a little bit better. But this is such an unusual look. I think it would be really cool. It'd also be tucked into a corner where it would get morning sun and afternoon shade. But yeah, really, really pretty, very unusual. And this is what I'm talking about in the plants are just a little bit unusual, which I really like. Bluestone Perennials carry some cool stuff. This variety was $21.95. Okay, next we're changing over to chrysanthemums, and they have even more than what you see here. And like I said, this is where I first started buying my heirloom chrysanthemums, and they send you nice, big, strong plants. I believe almost all of them made it except for the one that I forgot to plant, and obviously that died. Now, one thing about their chrysanthemums, they've got it divided into categories. They've got button mums, cushion mums, daisy mums, football mums, garden mums, landscape mums, large flowered garden, spectacular cushion mums, and spoon and quilled mums. All different varieties, all different heights, sizes, and colors. Within each of those individual categories, you can order at a discount. If you order 3 within the same category, it's already a pre-selected collection. If you order the collection, you get 3 of them for $21.95. So it's a big, huge cost savings because typically their mums are about $9.95 each. Is that right? Yeah, $9.95. Some of them are $10.95, but right around that $10 mark. And so if you order the collection, you get 3 for $21.95. So it's a good savings. Okay, so I'm not looking to add a ton of chrysanthemums to my collection. I'm really looking at chrysanthemums that would be tucked in on either the west side garden, the side garden, or in the new garden I'm creating. The first one I'm interested in is called Mary Stoker. It's a beautiful straw yellow color. It's a prolific bloomer that will gradually expand to make a sizable clump completely smothered in daisy-like flowers late summer through fall. It is a straw yellow flowers, develop warm pink tones with maturity, very showy plant. Height is 28 inches. It prefers full sun, hardy zones 4 through 9. It's a cut flower, deer resistant, long blooming, and does really well in hot, dry site area. I always like how they kind of make these notes on these different things that it's good for. It makes it a lot easier when researching the plant. And I could definitely see like I could get this chrysanthemum and grow it on for a couple of years and then divide it or propagate it and make it into a whole bunch of them. I think would be beautiful. That one in particular is $9.95. Okay, next on my list is Fireside, and that one is brick red with sparkling golden centers. Illuminate a late season sunny garden. Petals are lush and full. Its height is about 16 to 24 inches. It prefers full sun, hardy in zones 5 through 9. Attracts butterflies, great as a cut flower, deer resistant, and long blooming. That one also is $9.95. And then next is Daisy Rose. So this one is a soft rose, blooms deepen on as the season progresses. Looks good with autumn joy and autumn fire sedum as well. Its height is about 16 to 24 inches tall, prefers full sun, zones 5 through 9, attracts butterflies, great cut flower, deer resistant, and long blooming. And so I'm going to put a picture of all 3 of those varieties up with each other because I really kind of am considering putting them together as a trio. I think would be really pretty in the garden, especially for me, my mums tend to bloom in mid-November, beginning of November to mid-November, because they're definitely like a later fall blooming for me. And they even handle some early cold snaps. They don't usually have an issue with that. So I'll be excited. I'm really considering the chrysanthemums. Okay, next on my list is a Coreopsis. It's perennial in my area. The variety is Nova Sunstone. It has abundant flowers in hues of creamy yellow and soft peach, mature to varying shades of dazzling suntanned pink. Lush mounding habit. Anything that says lush, I'm all about. Height is about 16 inches. It is hardy in zones 5 through 9, deer resistant, long blooming, beneficial to pollinators, and it tolerates humidity, which we have a lot of humidity in our area. I love Coreopsis. I used to have a lot more of it in my gardens until I removed it earlier on because I was like, oh, this isn't a cut flower that I like. I had this obsession earlier on in this particular garden 7 or 8 years ago where I wanted all cut flowers. Now I've come to the maturity of like, I can't have a garden of all cut flowers. I need all different things. And I originally had some Coreopsis planted and I dug it up and I threw it away. Just, oh, So gosh, I wish I had it and it was 7 to 8-year-old plant that had matured all these years. That would be awesome. But I'm looking to add Coreopsis back into my garden. This particular variety is $16.95. Okay, next on my list is Euphorbia, which is also cushion spurge. This particular variety is a polychroma Euphorbia, and it has dramatic globe-shaped mounds are highlighted with attractive foliage. Outer bracts of the plant turn a colorful chrome yellow in early and red in the fall. I think that means early spring and then red in the fall. Its height is only about 14 inches and it's hardy in zones 3 through 8. It's deer resistant, beneficial, attracts butterflies, and good for hot, dry spaces, and it prefers full sun. And I've always wanted some euphorbias in my space. And I like that this one's not too tall. It's a little bit shorter, so I can bring it towards the front of a border. I think it would be really, really pretty. And that particular variety is $16.95. Okay, next on my list is the Echinacea Coral Craze. It has vibrant coral pink 5-inch blossoms that mature to a lavender pink. Superb branching provides dozens of bold-hued summer-long blooms. Its height is about 26 to 28 inches. It is hardy in zones 4 through 8. Prefers full sun, excellent cut flower, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, beneficial to pollinators, and handles hot, dry locations very well as it tolerates humidity. And I love coneflowers. Echinacea is just another word for coneflower, and they do really well in my garden. They do really well during the harshest times of the year, which is great. You can also divide Echinacea. You can also harvest its seeds and start your own plants as well. This one's really pretty. I love the idea of these like 5-inch blooms. I think it'll be really beautiful. This variety is $18.95. They literally have 2 pages of Echinacea. It's so pretty. 2 pages of Echinacea. Yeah, Echinacea is great in my area. It's just such a foolproof plant. I actually have a whole bunch on the west side of the garden, but they're getting too much shaded by my weeping redbud. So I think once I get the new back garden done, I'm going to dig up a bunch of those and move them. There's going to be a lot of moving plants this year as I develop that new garden. Okay, next on my list is called Filipendula flore plena. That's a mouthful, also known as meadowsweet. And it is elegantly divided deep green leaves and creamy white flowers are borne on graceful feathery plumes. Begins blooming in June and flowers over a very long period of time. Likes moist soil but will tolerate quite a bit of dryness. Its height is 24 to 28 inches. Hardy in zones 3 through 10. Prefers full to part sun, cut flower, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and is beneficial for pollinators. And I loved like the fluffiness of this. It's very bridal looking. It reminds me a little bit of baby's breath, and I think that this would be really cool in the new garden. So very interesting. You're supposed to be able to use some of its foliage for arrangements as well, not just the flowers. And that plant is $16.95. Okay, next on my list, we're looking at hardy geraniums, and I would love to get hardy geraniums to grow in my particular area. I really need to focus on the geraniums that are hardy to zone 9, though, because a lot of my hardy geraniums will die back in the hot sun. The ones that are hardy to zone 8 don't do as well for me. So the ones I'm going to talk about today are hardy to zone 9. So the first variety is Geranium Crystal Lake. It has deeply etched purple veining, offers striking contrast to the icy crystal blue flowers for a radiant glow. It's long blooming and a very carefree plant. You don't have to stress about it. Its height is about 16 to 20 inches tall and it's hardy zones 5 through 9. It prefers full to part sun. It's deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and is beneficial to pollinators. And that plant is $19.95. And then next on my list, that geranium I would be wanting to put in the new back garden. But this next one, this next geranium I'm interested in for the shade garden, and it's Geranium Samovar. It has royal purple flowers, good in full sun to deep shade, tolerates being under trees if given moisture. Height is 16 to 20 inches. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9. deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and beneficial for pollinators. And actually, I had also thought about that one. I thought about getting it and just tucking it in under the willow tree to see how it does. Not even really building a garden, just kind of digging a space, making sure it has a good water supply, and then seeing if it will grow under the willow tree, because it's such a pretty unique flower. It'd be very cool to see under the willow tree. The price on that one is $17.95. Okay, next on my list is a grass, an ornamental grass, and this is probably one of the biggest fails in my garden is I just don't look at grasses. And it's not like I'm looking for grass to be a main player. However, you can design a garden like that. I really need grasses to be tucked in to create backdrops in different area and to add a different level of texture. So it's not just flower, 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 flower. Having the whimsical long quality of a grass, I think makes your flowers stand out more. So it definitely is an area that I need to work on, and I would like to do more of that in the back garden. The one I'm looking at is a Panicum. It's a switch grass, and it's called Cheyenne Sky. It emerges a blue-green, then begins turning wine red in early summer, becoming drenched in color and with matching wine red flower panicles that arise from the grass, which I think is super cool. Its height is about 2 to 3 feet tall. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9 and prefers full to part sun. It's deer resistant and wet site tolerant. So that wet site tolerant is once again referring to the backyard, the new back garden that does have quite a bit of clay, and it holds on to that moisture. And so I do need things that are a little bit more wet tolerant in that area. Now, just because it's clay doesn't mean it's bad soil. Clay has tons and tons of nutrients in it. You just got to go through and amend it. It just is no fun. It's the worst. It's so sticky and gloppy and heavy, and ugh, I just hate dealing with it, but it is what it is. And if I want to build a garden there, I got to deal with it. The Cheyenne Sky is $18.95. Okay, this next one, for those of you all who have been following me for a long time, you're going to laugh your heads off at me. But I'm looking at a Hemerocallis, or a daylily. And those of y'all who've been following me a long time, you know I hate daylilies. And I've planted them in multiple gardens thinking, oh, I'm going to love it. And every time I don't like it. And I most recently had some in 2020 and ended up digging them all up in 2021. But here we are again, thinking that I'm going to like daylilies again. We're going to try. We're going to try. There's so much beautiful things about them. I can't get it through my head that the flower only lasts a day. It doesn't process. But I think if I don't look at it as a cut flower and I just look at it as beautiful color for my garden, that would help. I just need to look at it in a different way. So the variety I'm looking at is called Blazing Glory, and it has a fiery 6-inch golden yellow, fragrant flowers, flash sizzling red eyes, and matching picotee edges. And picotee just means like scalloped frilly edges. It is a proven winner's variety. Its height is 32 inches. It's hardy in zones 3 through 9, prefers full sun, attracts butterflies, and is good for hot, dry locations. And I love the color. I love the boldness. It's supposed to be a really great plant, so maybe we'll try again. We'll see. I'm not, if I dig it up this next time around, y'all have to make me promise not to buy any daylilies again. I just keep thinking, I mean, look how pretty. I keep thinking I'm going to like them. I'm going to like them. Like I used to not like bearded iris, and I love bearded iris now, right? So theoretically, that just reminds me, I have a whole box of iris rhizomes that I never planted. Well, that might become an upcoming video. Maybe we'll pot them all up for inside and see how many of them I killed. Totally forgot about it until I just said it out loud right then. Okay, next on my list is stuff for the shade garden. And I'm looking at the Ligularia, also known as leopard plant. And I do have a leopard plant that I've been growing in the shade garden. I forgot to cover it up. I forgot about the shade garden for all the snow and ice. Totally forgot about it. In fact, the shade overhead ended up collapsing because obviously it collects snow and ice. Totally forgot. That'll be a video coming up. We'll go look at that and do some fixing on that. So yeah, totally forgot about the shade garden. So my guess is that leopard plant is not going to make it. However, I loved it. Let's just hope it just died down to the ground and that it'll come back in the spring. But I loved it so much that I would like to invest in additional leopard plants. And I think if I do that, I'm probably going to have to consider getting another another greenhouse to kind of store potted plants in, because a lot of my shade garden plants are in pots, which means it's colder. We'll see what happens. So the Ligularia I'm looking at, the first one is called Bottle Rocket, and it's perfectly proportioned plants launch mustard yellow flower spires on chocolate stems above dense serrated foliage. Serrated means jagged. It has a bold color for the shade garden, which I am looking to add more color into the shade garden. Its height is about 28 to 34 inches. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9. Excellent as a cutting flower, whether it's the leaves or the blooms, they both do well. Deer resistant, attracts butterflies, handles moist areas, and prefers partial to full shade. And that particular variety is $17.95. And then I'm also looking at another variety of Ligularia leopard plant, and that one is Britt Marie Crawford, and it has drama in midsummer. Burgundy chocolate leaves reveal raspberry undersides. That's gorgeous. Depth and retention of color throughout the season. It has golden yellow daisies. Height is about 3 to 4 feet tall. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. Partial to full shade. It's great as a cut flower. Deer resistant. Attracts butterflies and handles moist soil. And that one is $18.95. I'm more interested in that one than I am in the other one, but both of them are absolutely beautiful. And I like the idea of the really, really dark foliage. I think would be pretty. I do want to continue adding to my shade garden. I want my shade garden to be so full that it's almost hard to walk through it. Almost hard. Still can walk through it, but I want it to be really full and really lush. It's going to take a few years to build it to that point. Okay, next on my list is Monarda, also known as bee balm and bergamot. And I have planted Monarda in the past and haven't really appreciated it for what it is and how well it does in our hot weather. I've tried to start it from seed with little to no success, so I was looking at actually purchasing some of the plants. So the first one I'm looking at is Monarda Be Happy, and it has large cherry red flowers with chocolate drop button centers, blanketed, bushy, upright foliage. Each foliage blade displays prominent veining for an appealing pinstripe quilled effect. Its height is 24 to 30 inches tall, and it's hardy in zones 4 through 9. Prefers full to part sun. Excellent cut flower, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and is beneficial to pollinators. And I love the texture of these blooms. It's very different. And so I think it can add a lot of interest to my garden. And I would really be looking at this potentially on the side garden or in the new back garden. And this one is $17.95. And I'm also looking at one other variety of Monarda that's much taller, and that is Jacob Klein. And it explodes with very large fiery red flowers just as summer begins. Considered the very best red variety on the market. Its height is about 4 to 5 feet. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. Prefers full to part sun. Excellent cut flower. Deer resistant. Attracts butterflies and is beneficial to pollinators. And I really see it as something towards the back of the garden. I think would be absolutely beautiful. I could see it, tucked into the back part of the new garden or tucked into the side garden towards the brick wall of my house, so it can kind of come up and give this burst of color. I think would be absolutely beautiful. Really like the Jacob Klein. Okay, one of the plants that I've become consistently obsessed with is Nepeta, also known as catmint, and I have planted several, and I've done Nepeta calamentha as well, Nepeta cat's pajamas, just several different varieties. It took me a while to get it to grow in the right place. It really needs as much sun as it can possibly get in my particular area, and now the plants are getting large enough that they're getting ready to, I need to start probably next fall. I'll probably start dividing them and moving around, which is very exciting. But I would like to add an additional Nepeta to my collection. This one is called Chartreuse on the Loose. I was really drawn to the color. It's a carefree, drought-tolerant, fragrant, deer and rabbit-resistant plant. It has chartreuse foliage and lilac blue flowers are great for front borders. It's only about 8 to 10 inches tall, but it spreads, I think, its spread is about 20 inches. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8, prefers full sun, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, beneficial for pollinators, and can handle hot, dry spots. And Nepeta, if you've ever had Nepeta in your garden, it is almost always covered with pollinators. Absolutely beautiful plant. I would like to add that one. I like that chartreuse color. It's $17.95. Okay, next on my list is a Salvia. And I have quite a few salvias, but I would like to continue to add more salvias to my garden. I was drawn to this particular one because of the bold color that it has. Salvia is also known as meadow sage. And this particular variety is plumosa salvia. It has dense plume-like flowers of deep rosy lilac. Its aromatic, silvery green, crinkled foliage provides attractive contrast to lush plumes. Blooms retain color when dried, and I do like to dry flowers. Height is about 18 inches. It's hardy in zones 4 through 8, prefers full sun, excellent cut flower, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, beneficial to pollinators, and handles hot, dry locations. And I really like the fullness of these blooms. I thought it was really pretty. I also like that it has a silvery green foliage. You probably noticed throughout several of this, there's a lot of blue-green foliage I want to add in through the garden because everything I feel is like the same color of green right now. And I would like to add in some contrast. So whether it's a blue-green or whether it's like a dark chocolatey purple burgundy color, I think would be really good to add to the garden. I do want to say, if you can hear Buffy in the background, Buffy's my dog for those of you who are new. She has what's called a collapsed trachea. She's okay, but it causes coughing. There's no way to fix it. We just have to medicate her. She's an older dog. Collapsed trachea is common in smaller breeds. And so you might hear her coughing in the background. She, whenever she has physical movement, it causes the coughing, and she's doing her hourly walk around the house to see if anybody's dropped food, and then she'll go sit back down, but you might hear her coughing a little bit in the background. Okay, so next on my list is called Sanguisorba lilac squirrel, and this is the most unusual plant, and I think I'm really obsessed with it. It is also known as burnet. It has foliage, its foliage emerges as tight, frilly, folded blue-green fans, then open to ladder-like serrated edged leaves. Its basal rosettes are topped in summer with pink bottle brush squirrel tails that dangle from branching stems. Very cool. Its height is 6 feet tall. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9, prefers full sun, deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and handles dry, hot locations. And definitely thinking about it for either the side garden or the back garden. I'm obsessed with the way it looks. It's super weird looking, but I think it could be really cool. It's a little bit taller, so it'd be kind of blended back into the backdrop of a garden, but very interesting, very unique. This one is $24.95 because it's obviously a little bit more unusual of a plant, but kind of obsessed. I think that that might make my final list. Okay, and finally, last on my list is a sedum. I love sedums. I want to add more low-growing ground cover type sedums to my garden. This particular variety is called Sedum Sunsparkler Dazzleberry, and it has fabulous color impact. Huge raspberry flower clusters engulf the smoky blue-gray foliage. Hardy in zones 4 through 9, full sun, attracts butterflies, and handles hot, dry spots just fine. And this would be something tucked towards the front of a border to kind of just spill over. I think would be beautiful. Over the years, I could divide it and expand it to multiple locations in the yard. I'm obsessed with the color of it. And that particular one is $15.95. Okay, so really, really excited to go through Bluestone Perennials. I could have put double on that list, and I definitely circled more than that as I was originally going through. And then I did my layering of research and was able to whittle it down now a little bit more. And then now from those ones I just listed, I will go ahead and make a small selection and order those. And once those come in, I will do a unboxing video with the plants, and I'll go more into depth about each variety of plant and where it's going to be located out in my garden. This is my favorite time of year to do this. I mean, I was even going through the Swan Island? Am I calling that right? Swan Island, the dahlia catalog. I don't buy dahlias. I'm not going to buy dahlias, but boy, did I spend 2 hours pouring through it and enjoying it. So this time of year, I love going through all these catalogs, and I mark them up. Don't be afraid to mark them up, right? Note, circle, do all the stuff. Tuck it in your purse, throw it in the front seat in the car, bring it with you. I spend a lot of time in pickup lines and waiting for children to get out of marching band and dance and scouts and baseball. And so I almost always have this on the go. It's great because allows me to work in the car. But definitely take a look at the Bluestone Perennials catalog. Let me know what other company I'm missing, what other catalogs I need. I'm sure some of y'all get a lot more. I usually get about 8 to 10, and only about 2 of 3 of them am I obsessed with. I'm obsessed with this one. I'm also obsessed with the Johnny Selected Seeds catalog. But go ahead and tell me which ones you prefer, and then also talk to me if you've grown any of these plants that I listed today. Let me know your thoughts on them, whether it was great or whether you didn't like it or whether you didn't like the price or whatever. I do think that shipping of plants is a hit or miss kind of situation. I've had consistent quality from Bluestone Perennials. Every once in a while, I might have one that's a little bit difficult, but I've had no issues with them. Dealing with their company has been fine. I do feel like a lot of times when a plant doesn't succeed in my garden, a lot of it is due to myself, not necessarily the company who sent it. And then I do want to preface this is you're not getting a big giant plant. These are small plants that are easy to ship and they're easy to get in the ground. And y'all know I don't like to dig big holes if I don't have to. And they're easy to get in the ground, and there's enough roots, there's just enough foliage that the roots can absolutely support what is there, which I think is super important. I don't want the roots to have to support this massive amount of foliage during a transplant. So very happy with Bluestone Perennials. I hope you guys will check them out and then drop me comments below letting me know your thoughts on them. As always, make sure you like and comment on the video. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my videos so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and that you say hi. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And if TikTok gets banned, you can find me on YouTube Shorts. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.